Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ballet Ring. So perhaps you are a new ballet student looking to step foot into one of your very first ballet classes, or you are a seasoned ballet student looking to up your professionalism by a couple notches, or you're just a happy little ballet nerd looking to learn more about ballet culture. If you check any of these three boxes in any degree, then this video is for you.
Today we're going to be giving you huge ballet etiquette tips to boost your confidence in the classroom and to make you shine and stand out in a quiet, elegant sort of way.
This is actually kind of funny. We're heading back to our roots with this video. Yeah. One of our very first videos ever was a ballet class etiquette video. It was a really, really old video, and we went through some of the 5 basics points of ballet etiquette. Today, we're kind of expounding on that, and we're going to share with you not the basics anymore. These are some pretty obscure,
high-level etiquette tips.
So make sure to watch this video all the way through to see what they are and to see where you are in your ballet etiquette levels.
If you're ready for the video, then tap the like button and let's go! Every single culture has its own set of etiquette rules, and ballet, which does have its own culture and is kind of its own little ecosystem, is of course no exception.
So we like to think of ballet etiquette less of just like, oh, manners, and more of the actual rules of the road kind of thing. They're very crucial. They really help the class run smoothly, keeps everyone in order, and lets the class run with as few disturbances as possible.
Unfortunately, a lot of time, not just in ballet but in general, etiquette can become perceived as obsolete and kind of old-fashioned and irrelevant, but we really think that etiquette is a key component to having the classes run smoothly, and it's also just a really great way to honor the classical arts and the people you're enjoying it with. So in our first etiquette video, we stressed a very important etiquette tip, and that is to never ever be late. Always be on time, even early if you can, for ballet classes, rehearsals, etc, etc, etc. However, while we 100% stand by that, and that is true, and that timeliness is king when it comes to ballet etiquette, we of course have to acknowledge that sometimes life just happen.
In reality, it is impossible for any one person to be early 100% of the time. Right? Maybe you missed your alarm, maybe the traffic on the 121 was really, really, really bad. Or maybe you got stuck talking to your chainsaw neighbor over the hedges and now you're late to class.
It happens!
That is a very real scenario that can definitely happen to anybody.
So I think part of etiquette is like obviously doing everything in your power to avoid the situations of possibly being late. But true etiquette goes beyond just the prevention of the mishap and goes into how to gracefully recover when those mishaps inevitably do happen.
So in the instance that you are a little bit late and you arrived at the studio and class has already started, the appropriate thing to do would be to enter the classroom, but don't just walk in, stand at the bar, and catch on with everybody else. You would wait by the door, like just inside the door, until whatever combination they're doing finishes.
So the music's done.
Once the music stops, then it is customary that you would go up to the teacher and you would say, I'm sorry, I'm late, can I please join class? And the reason why you'd ask that is because sometimes if you're too late, you actually can't join the class. And so basically you're saying, you know, I know I'm late. Is it too late for me to join? And generally, if you're 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes late, the teacher will say, yes, you can join class.
If your teacher does give you permission to join the class, the most polite thing to do, assuming they didn't give you a specific bar spot to stand at, sometimes they will tell you, yes, you may join class, please stand behind so-and-so. Sometimes they'll do that. If they don't do that, take a quick glance around the room and select a bar spot that is very respectful, probably not in the front of the class, but take a good, suitable, humble, and respectful bar spot that is not like interfering with the dancers who have been there earlier than you. Once you've selected your respectful bar spot, it is probably a good idea to start warming up like as fast as humanly possible. Do some pliés, do some tendus, some light stretching, you know, things like that. Be watching the teacher and picking up on the next combination while doing it, so you'll be able to, you know, catch up and rejoin the class at its current standing. Now, if you happen to be 30 or more minutes late to class, it is unfortunately, I mean, depending on your level, of course. If you're in the younger, like primary levels, it probably doesn't matter that much, but in the upper level, it is most definitely too late to join the class. In this case, you have 2 options to go from here. You could A, just call into the front desk, let them know which class you're supposed to be attending, and just let them know you're not going to be able to make it. please excuse me. Or option 2, you could still go into the studio and ask to observe class.
And at that point, you could probably just say, hey, it's probably too late for me to join, but can I watch?
Yeah.
And most teachers will say, of course, because observing class is actually very, very beneficial. Even if you can't actually attend, if it's too late for you to catch up, you can still learn a lot from watching.
The teachers will most likely very much appreciate that. And it's also beneficial for you. They always tell you, watch and learn. It is definitely a valid learning method. That's also the same thing for like if you have an injury or like something like that. I mean, don't go in if you have the flu. If you're not contagious, you're still able to go in and watch class and you'll still learn something. It'll be beneficial to you. Of course, the teacher would be very much happy. It shows that you're still engaging and it shows that you're still improving your mental game when it comes to your ballet technique, if not the physical. Anyway, that was
how to gracefully accept being late, gracefully recover, and still get benefits from whatever tragic twist of fate life may hand your way.
The next etiquette tips are regarding the bar, and these are the ones that are really, really going to make or break your bar experience for you and your fellow classmates. I feel like some of it is just like not really talked about or explained in a verbal way. It's just like you somehow just learn it. But it's also very confusing if you don't really know what the rules are. So anyway, we're gonna talk about those.
We're gonna break it down for you.
Yeah, we're gonna break them down for you and make it hopefully a little bit more digestible.
So when we start first combination of the day and we're having one hand on the bar, the general rule goes that you always put the left hand on the bar first. So that you're working your right side.
So yeah, the general rule of thumb, if the teacher does not specify which hand is on the bar.
Left hand on the bar.
The next one is kind of like an old-fashioned thing, I feel like. I don't know if many people do it anymore, but it is still a valid etiquette practice. And this etiquette rule is when you're going to assume you're a position to prepare for the exercise at the bar, is you'll never turn away from the bar to put your hand on the bar. You'll always turn towards the bar, as if you're doing a suit new to change sides. You know, I think it's so that everybody kind of turns around the same direction and it looks very uniform and very beautiful.
I think so.
When you see all the people just turn the same direction rather than it just being kind of haphazard, like anyone turns whichever way they want.
That's the only reason I can think why. It's one of those weird ballet culture things that somehow nobody talks about.
To be honest, no one will take offense if you turn the wrong way. I don't think they would anyways. But in general, turning towards the bar, tiny nuance, but it shows that you're polished. You know, not that you're not if you don't do this, but it's just that little extra thing on top that just sets you apart a little bit.
Exactly. So when it comes to actually standing at a bar, assuming you are using those like portable bars that are in the center of the floor, if you're on the wall bars, it's very simple.
You just space yourself nicely.
Hold the bar, give space to your front and back. It's very simple. But on the portable bars, it might be a little bit different. Depending on the size of your class, you may have 2, 3, or even 4 people on each portable bar. And so because there's so many hands on the bar, right? You want to make sure that you're not, you know, doing all of this. We're gonna take this through from 2 to 3 to 4 people, because obviously if you're a single person on the bar, you're not gonna have anybody to worry about.
So if you have 2 people on the bar, it is proper for you both to stand on either sides of the bar, so one on one side, one on the other side, and standing shoulder to shoulder more or less with your backs together, so you're facing the opposite direction. Obviously,
with both
the left hand on the bar and the left hand on the bar, you will be facing the opposite direction. And that's because when you take the bar, your hand is naturally going to be more in front of you. And if that person is facing you, if you start traveling, you could definitely have some interference going on. So if you're standing closer shoulder to shoulder, then you won't have that issue. You'll be able to still move forward and come back to your original position without messing with anybody's hands. Now, in terms of going 3 people on the bar, this one again is fairly simple. You just add an extra person. You would have 2 people on one side and then 1 person on the opposite side. And that 1 person has to be in the middle between the other 2. The 2 that are facing each other will definitely have to do some jump situation with their hands as they move forward along the bar.
And it is respectful to be the one to lift your hand off.
It's also a good test to make sure you're not relying on the bar too much.
That's
you should
true.
You should be able to easily
gracefully
transfer along the bar and not be like shuffling and sliding and stuff like that. And the same thing goes if you have 4 people in the bar, you'll have 2 and 2 on either side.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, back to back. After this, it becomes kind of self-explanatory. The same rules apply even if you had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many people in the bar that you could possibly fit. Additional rules might apply, like if you're doing something big, like grand mas, for instance. It is courteous to turn slightly towards the bar to avoid kicking the person in front or behind you. Just being mindful and being respectful of the other people that you share the bar with.
It is definitely a bit of an art being intuitive.
It is.
So when you cross over past each other's hand, you gotta kind of like watch and just like be aware of people, which I mean, ballet is a corporate art form. So, you know, it's good training at the bar.
It sounds really complicated when we try to explain it, but once you've kind of taken enough classes and you've danced with enough people, it's kind of like the same as like dealing with intersections on the road. You let this person go and then you let this person go and then the turning lanes, you know, like it all has order, and for most people, if you've been driving for a long time, it feels like second nature. Like you don't even have to think. And it's the same thing for when you're working at the bar. You know exactly how to stand, where to put your hand, etc. So yeah, that's kind of like basic hand placement at the bar, and it just really helps everyone be able to cooperate and function properly and be able to still focus on their technique without being hindered by somebody else or being hindered by somebody else.
Final point for bar etiquette is regarding when the teacher is demonstrating. Oftentimes the teacher will take a bar spot amongst the students in a place where most of the students can see them for ultimate visibility. At this point, if you are standing at that particular bar, it would be courteous for you to step back and give the teacher their space so that A, the teacher has the space to demonstrate what they need to demonstrate, and B, so that you're not obscuring the view of the other students. This also goes for any other time that someone else is demonstrating.
Yeah, if like the teacher has some other student demonstrate, it is courteous to, you know, hop off the bar for a little bit and just give that student some room to properly demonstrate. That is the end of this segment regarding bar etiquette.
For our new ballet dancers out there that are just stepping foot in the studio, hopefully this makes it a little more accessible and you feel like, okay, so
now
I know.
I get it. Yeah.
That is it for all the bar tips. I know it was a lot. Hopefully they helped. And now we're going to move on to center.
This next portion of the video is specifically male dancer etiquette. And yes, you guys are so special. You have your own very specific set of additional etiquette rules. The first male danseur etiquette rule is that you should always participate in moving the bars. So if you're going to be using portable bars for bar work, it would be lovely if you helped move them onto the floor. If that means getting into the studio a little bit early to help move them, then do it. And especially after the bar work is over and you're transitioning to center, you would help move the bars out of the way for center.
Girls, that does not mean that once bar is over, you can
get a snack.
Kick back and get a snack. The general rule is if you worked at a bar, you will assist moving that bar.
With that being said, if you are a male dancer and you have already carried the bar with or without assistance, if you got it, let them know I got it. Carry it off. And then after you've carried your own bar out of the way, it is courteous to take a glance around the room and see if there are any other bars that have not been carried away yet. Maybe there's a girl who is on the bar all by herself and has no one to help her carry it off. You can offer to assist carrying that bar off as well, in addition to your own. Girls, make sure you let him do his duties. Let him help you. If he insists that he's got it, step back. Let him take it.
They're gonna be lifting y'all in a sec anyway, so like let them warm up.
Let them have their warm up.
Let them practice on the bars first.
I feel like this one is one of the more general and more like widely known etiquette rules for the men. I feel like most of the time they are encouraged very much to carry the bars off or at least help carry the bars off.
Yeah.
The second etiquette tip for the danseur pertains to going across the floor during your center work. So ordinarily, as the male dancer, you would allow the ladies to go first, as the traditional rule says, ladies first. So you would allow them to go first, and the men will kind of wait till last, and they'll all split themselves into groups and then go at the end.
Unless otherwise specified.
Yes.
If you have a live pianist, then this concept is not actually just manners and courtesy. It actually has a practical purpose, because oftentimes once the ladies groups are done going across the floor, the pianist will actually slow down to allow more time for your angelic ballon. Even if you're doing pirouettes, sometimes they'll slow down.
Corner. And corner, up, and up, up, plie, up, and 1, Give them time to turn. And up. And. And détourner. And done. Plié up.
But yes, the pianist will slow down a little bit to make some extra time for the danseurs.
That being said, there are exercises that don't require the men and the women to be split. If you are in a group going across the floor with girls, it is polite to let her have the downstage side of you. Like if you're going in groups of 3, for instance, and you're the one boy amongst 2 girls, you would let them kind of go closer to the front or downstage of you, and you take the upstage position. Again, courtesy, ladies first. This one's more of a manners thing, but it is also kind of practical for the teacher's sake because they'll be able to see everyone a little bit better. Men generally being maybe a little taller, maybe jumping a little higher, and all of that. If you take the upstage position, no matter how high you jump, you'll be up here, we'll still be able to see you and her, because she won't jump as high, naturally, unless she's Natalia Osipova.
If she's Natalia Osipova, then you just gotta jump higher, sorry.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a small one. Again, I don't think this one is really talked about or mentioned hardly at all, unless you have like a very old-fashioned teacher. Of course, if you're in an audition and you have numbers and you have to stand in a specific number order, that's
irrelevant.
That's irrelevant, but in general classwork, this is a good rule of thumb. I'm sure many have had the privilege of being taught these etiquette rules, but if you weren't,
here you go.
Here you go. The next etiquette tips are going to be kind of under this umbrella term of general ballet etiquette tips, and we're going to rapid fire through these real quick.
Get your pen and paper out.
The first one, obviously, and I think we said this informally in another video, but girls, if you're wearing pointe shoes, do not let the ribbons stick out. These are considered a cardinal offense.
A felony, if you will.
A felony. So avoid those at all costs. Tuck them in. If your neighbor's ribbons are sticking out, ribbons.
This also goes for like the tips of your pointe shoes. You know, when the satin starts to get worn and it starts to fray, keep those trimmed, like clean and trimmed, because when it's kind of just all frayed and just hanging there, it gives a very it's
messy and unkept sort of look.
Exactly. So you want to keep it neat.
Also, when it's long, it can kind of come loose and just leave little bits of satin shreds all over the floor.
That's true. We want to avoid that.
And that's not courteous.
In general, just be neat. You know, like keep your hair out of your face. Make sure your tights are not ripped. No big huge jewelry, watches, earrings, etc. Just like keeping a nice tidy appearance.
Exactly. The second one is a big one, and this one obviously will apply to some and not to others, but if there is a piano in the studio, especially when there's a pianist playing, never ever 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 lean on the piano, like, you know, do one of those, or maybe
don't touch
use
the
it.
piano.
Just don't hands off the piano. This one's definitely for manners, but also just the fact that pianos are very delicate instruments. And yes, putting a couple of fingers may not do a whole lot, but it's like out of respect for the instrument and more so for the pianist, of course.
And also don't put things on the piano.
That's a big one as well. It's kind of like a sacred space, you know?
Exactly.
It's like you must revere the piano.
You know, musicians, you treasure the instrument. And because it's some of their art form that's coming into our art form, we gotta respect them.
You have to respect it. One more note regarding the piano is please never block the pianist's view of everybody else in the room. The pianist is, contrary to popular belief, is not just looking at her sheet music and just kind of like playing by herself. The pianist is always looking around the room, trying to gauge where we are in the combination and trying to see whether his or her tempo is suitable for the dancer, and also trying to make eye contact with the teacher to see, should we be wrapping up the song now, or should we repeat it a couple more times, or do you need me to go slower for the men now? And he or she will be always watching the room, and if you start standing right in front of her, it's gonna really hinder the pianist's ability to do that. The pianist probably, out of respect, won't tell you where to stand or where not to stand, but out of courtesy and respect, it is a best practice to never block the pianist's view. This one's kind of an obvious one as well. No food in the studio. I mean, this will kind of vary depending on your studio's policies, but in general, it is a best practice not to bring any food into the studio out of respect for the space and for the other dancers and your teacher, obviously. That being said, if you have like something like diabetes and you need to carry stuff with you at all times, then of course discuss with your teacher, let them know the situation, and of course they'll make accommodations. It's not that big of a deal.
Clearly communicating your needs is honestly the most polite, most courteous thing. It sets everybody at ease and also helps better understanding between the whole class.
But if you have no excuses, don't bring any snacks to class, especially don't eat in class. The next one is very much related to, the rules of the road. In ballet class, there are various types of traffic flow depending on which segment of class you're in, whether you're at barre, center, partnering, going across the floor, going in groups, coming forward. There are lots of different traffic rules.
So if you're going across the floor diagonally, corner to corner, the traffic is going in a straight line. So once you're done, do not stop in the corner. You must walk around the back. Keep that traffic flowing forward and then back. And then line up for the other corner, because usually we go across the other way. And even though traffic is kind of going in one strip, this back corner here is not really free game to just stand. Usually you want to stay to the side, give the dancers the full space in the full room, just out of courtesy and also safety. Now, if we're going in groups from the back moving forward, usually there'll be groups of like 6 or 8 going forward. Once you have reached the mirror, please do not mosey on back through the dancers. Don't do that. That is asking for a collision and is very unsafe. Instead, you're gonna pull a Moses, part the Red Sea, go forward, out, and then back.
Again, I feel like all of this feels much more self-explanatory when you're in class and you're kind of gauging the directions where people are moving and things like that. But if it is your very first class, we understand it's very overwhelming. You don't know where people are coming from and where you need to go, where you need to be. So hopefully these are going to be good guidelines to help you flow with the direction of traffic.
Rule of thumb is keep things moving,
Exactly, just keep things moving.
So perhaps during class there is a low-level emergency. Maybe you have asthma and you need to get your inhaler, or you saw your chainsaw neighbor trimming the hedges outside of the studio and clearly he needs a little bit of help. What would you do in this scenario?
So if you need to temporarily excuse yourself midway through the class, the most polite thing to do is to wait until the music ends. Of course, if it's an emergency and like you need to get out of the studio like right now, then you can skip this step. But in most cases, wait till the music ends and then you can raise your hand or go up to the teacher and let them know that you need to leave. Give them the reason why in the most brief, concise explanation. And then once they give you permission, you can leave the studio and then return when you're ready.
Most teachers are pretty understanding if you're saying, hey, I'm not feeling well, can I get some water?
Yeah, or even if you just need to use the bathroom.
Exactly. Most teachers are not going to be like, no.
Yeah.
It's more just letting them know that you're going to be out for a second and then you'll be back.
A lot of teachers will also ask you the question, can you wait one more exercise or can you wait a couple more minutes? And it's perfectly okay to say no if it's a no. Of course, if you can, then it's up to you. But if the answer is no, just politely say no. And of course, they'll excuse you. However, if you know you're going to need to leave midway through class for whatever reason, maybe you have a very important phone call that you're expecting, or maybe you have a specific time you need to take a specific medication and you need to step out to do that, it would be most polite to let the teacher know ahead of time before the class even begins. That is, again, communication is the key to all aspects of etiquette.
And it takes so little effort just to be like, hey, so at 8 o'clock I need to go take this medication, so I may step out of class. Or, hey, I'm expecting a really important phone call at 3, so around center I'm probably going to have to step out, but I'll be back. And then the teacher will at least know what to expect. Then at that point during the class, when it gets to 3 o'clock and you know you have your phone call, you can just go up to the teacher and raise your hand and they'll just be like, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like,
go ahead.
So that way during the class it's less obstructive.
Yeah.
Because you got the talking out of the way beforehand. So it just helps everybody to have a much better experience.
Same goes for if you have to actually leave the class early. Maybe you have to leave early for a dentist appointment. Maybe you have to leave early because you have to drive your chainsaw neighbor to his dentist appointment. In this case, the same rules apply. Tell your teacher beforehand. And when it comes to the time for you to actually leave class, it is polite to go up to the teacher, give them a curtsy or a bow as is suitable for you, thank them for the class. You can maybe even wave to your classmates on the way out, and then you're free to go on your way. These etiquette rules regarding, leaving the studio, the most important paramount thing is communication.
It's nice to let the teacher know that firstly, everything's okay, I just need to step out for a second.
Yeah.
And it's also nice to communicate your reasons so they don't just think you're walking out on the class for no reason.
Or worse yet, something catastrophic has happened and there's a real legit emergency that they should be concerned about.
Right, and so it gives peace of mind to the teacher, and it's also helpful for your relationship with your teachers to be able to be on those terms where you can openly communicate, letting each other know what's happening, and kind of balance those expectations you have for one another's.
A little bit of a tangent. I can hear you guys now. Oh my god, I love you guys with hoodies. Oh my god, your hoodies are so cute. If you want to know where we got them, I mean, it's kind of obvious because it literally has our swan on it. But these are Ballet Rain merch hoodies.
Yeah!
The shop is linked above and below very conveniently. You can't possibly miss it.
They're fleece lined on the inside. They're just super soft and stretchy and comfortable. And they even have a majestic, romantic hood.
Look at that. It's thick, you guys.
It's a thick hood.
It's thick. If you want to be, you know, cozied up in a big potato sack of ballet nerdness, then check out the merch.
Linked above and below. Our final segment of this video is pertaining to the very end of class. How do you properly leave the class once teacher dismisses you, etc., etc.?
This is obviously going to be different for every school and every company, but
and every teacher.
Yeah. It's very individual. So the way class ends is generally we have a full reverence with music where the whole class can take the reverence and bow or curtsy and thank the teacher for the class. After this, class is officially dismissed and you are technically free to go,
but don't leave just yet.
As an extra sign of gratitude, each dancer will go up to the teacher personally and thank them for the class, and will also go thank the pianist personally. You can curtsy or bow and say thank you for class. Same goes for the pianist, and then you can file out the door.
Additionally, if you were, say, in a partnering class or a pas de deux class, and you dance with a partner or multiple partners, then in addition to personally thanking the teacher and the pianist, you would also go and thank all of the partners that you personally worked with. For your partners, it can be a little bit more casual. You don't necessarily have to bow or curtsy to them. You can just go up to them and say thank you, maybe good job today, thank you. It's much more casual, but just show a sign of appreciation to them for their hard work and for their collaboration with you, and almost kind of to celebrate the progress that you both made in your partnership in terms of pas de deux. Additionally, if there's any other people in the room who are watching class, say it's an audition and there's like a bunch of other people who are sitting and writing notes about you, maybe the big head director is coming to observe your class, you can go and thank them as well. And different things like that. Make sure you always thank the authorities in the room because it shows your appreciation and also communicates your honor and your respect towards them. So that's always a good thing to do. After that's all said and done, then you are free to leave the studio officially and get ready to do it all again. Thank you very much.
So there you have it, everybody. Those were pretty much all ballet etiquette.
I think that was most of them, yeah.
Of course, these ballet etiquette tips are all in addition to the other ballet etiquette tips that we have done on this channel. We've actually have a whole playlist. We've compiled them into a little ballet etiquette package for you guys. And it will be linked over there in that corner and also in the description below if you want to know all the ins and outs of ballet culture. Anyway, I think that is all from us for now. This is Ballet Rain signing off. Until the next video.
Bye.
So please plus
Please plus the like button.